and welcome to another edition of the Daily Hey Now book discussion. I am Too Bad As I Am, and today's book will be The Diviners by Libba Bray. The Diviners is another book that was recommended to me. November is the month of recommendations by my friend Serene, aka Cheeky Nerdette on Tumblr and Twitter. The Diviners is a story by Libba Bray. It's a part of a series. It's the first book in the series, which is common. I love my young adult serials, and apparently young adult writers love writing serials lately. So I didn't actually know I was reading part of a serial at first. So I was like, oh, this book is going to have a beginning and an end, and it didn't. And I was like, no, Libba Bray. And I was just coming off of the high that she gave with the Gemma Doyle series that just ended recently. Which was amazing if you guys want to read some historical young adults with little hints and tinges of romance. The Diviners is a paranormal young adult book. It's about a group of people who can see and do things that normal people cannot do, if it sounds a little bit like Heroes. The first person you generally meet is Evie O'Neill, who is really cool. She's this 1920s flapper, and she comes from this little town in Ohio, and she makes this mistake, and she uses her ability, which is she can touch an object and she can tell you what the story is behind the object, and she can see your secrets within that object just by touching it. And she uses it as a parlor trick while she was drunk at a party, and she sort of makes a mess out of herself and her town, and her parents exile her to live with her Uncle Will, who is a very smart man. He reminds me a little bit of Giles from Buffy the Vampire Slayer, in the sense that he's older than the other characters in the book, and he's very wise and cool, and yet he's really relatable, and you like him, and you want to see him survive and thrive, and he's really nice. Before I go any further, just once again, this is spoiler heavy, so there's going to be a lot of discussion about the book and certain theories and things that I may have for the second one, so you can tune out now. There is a review coming up. Actually, I do have a review already up. I posted it on Sunday night. You can read if you just want a general consensus and my thoughts about it. So let me go on before I keep stalling. And he's a professor, but he runs this museum, which is called the Museum of the Creepy Crawlies, as people call it. It's actually an occult type of museum where there's certain artifacts and things there, but it's kind of like this laughing stock. It doesn't get much interest from tourists and residents alike. And Will is smart, but people don't exactly appreciate him the way they should appreciate him because he's fantastic. So Evie gets to New York, and she's all, yay! Everything is going great! I love New York! She may have been a big fish in Ohio, but she's she's in a small pond when it comes to New York, and the first thing that happens to her, she gets pickpocketed by this lout named Sam. Sam Lloyd, who I have a kinship with because Sam is a Russian immigrant. I am a first generation Russian immigrant, so I know how he feels with certain things, and he talks about later on in the book about his accent and just feeling different and stuff like that, although I do not have an accent, my parents do, and just hearing certain responses from other people. So I liked Sam a lot. Sam is a really cool character. He drives Evie crazy, because he's kind of like a Damon from Vampire Diaries, Spike from Buffy kind of character. He thinks he's smooth and slick, but everyone around him kind of already knows that he's just a jerk with a heart. They know that he's harmless in the end, but even though he's still a thief and a pickpocket, but there's a reason why he's a thief and a pickpocket. Then you have Jericho, who lives in the museum. He lives, not in the museum, I'm sorry, they live in an apartment, but it just feels like they all live in the museum, with he lives with Will. He takes care of him. Jericho has a lot of secrets that I'll talk about later. He's very cool. He's this big, tall giant. Him and Sam contrast each other so well because Sam is, so he's medium build, but he's pretty. Everyone knows he's a good-looking dude. And then there's Jericho. Jericho is huge. He's this giant. Sam makes fun of him all the time. He calls him the not-so-gentle giant. He says to Evie, oh, what are you guys feeding him? He's huge. And he really is. But he's such a sweetheart. He's a liken to Clark Kent, kind of esque, where he's just calm, like a big dude with this, he's just a really sweet guy. And then you have other side characters as well. In Evie's life, you have Mabel, who is her best friend. She calls her Pie Vase. Mabel comes from a mother who was born from an aristocratic family, and her father, who is a Jewish socialist. So she's on her parents' belief system, and Evie tries to tell her, you need to stop being constantly berated by your parents and defined by your parents. But Mabel she doesn't really listen. Then on the other side of things, kind of away from Evie, or close to Evie, Theta, who is cool. She's a dancer on Broadway, and she's fantastic. She's a showgirl. She's a lot of fun. Her and her best friend Henry are awesome. Henry's gay, which is kind of a no-no in 1920s New York. Even if you think about it, like, oh, it's okay. Right now it's okay, but if you think about the time period this is set in, this is kind of a taboo thing, and they live together too, and there's a lot of talk about who he is and what they have together. But Henry is most definitely gay. Then you meet Memphis. Memphis is black. He lives in Harlem. Again, you need to deal with the 1920s. There's a lot of segregation. There's a lot of racism in the world, even up north. The Harlem Renaissance is booming at this point. So there's you go into a lot of the speakeasies because we're still under Prohibition, and you get to venture into the speakeasies with Memphis, and he's trying to protect his little brother. Memphis is, from very early on, you learn that Memphis is also a diviner, or was a diviner. He can heal things, and what ends up happening is he tries to heal his dying mother, and his dying mother says, no, don't do it, while they're at this crossroads. And the theory that I have about Memphis is that he actually still a diviner. He still has the dreams. He still knows that something's wrong. I feel like he still is a diviner. He still has the healing hands, except he's repressing it because of what happened to his mom. It's like when you have a really terrible traumatic event, you try to hold it back, or if you do something that you once did that almost got you killed, like driving a car. If you drive a car and you enter a terrible accident, there's people out there who, they're like, no, I'm never going to drive a car again, and they go years, maybe sometimes a decade, without even getting behind the wheel because they're so traumatized. And that's what I think is with Memphis. He doesn't even want to try to heal because he thinks it's gone. I don't think so. I think we'll find out maybe in the next book or the third book that he still has the healing hands. It might just be somewhat gets in trouble or something like that he needs to heal them. And then with the diviners, there is this big thing going on. There is a murder mystery happening that Uncle Will gets involved in. He gets scoured in by the police, and the police are like, oh, you need to help us because there's these occult-like fixtures all over these people's bodies, and there's a character, Naughty John, and he has this little song that he sings. He's like, Naughty John, but he goes and he kills these people, and he eats their body parts so that he can get stronger. And Evie, with her abilities, helps Will uncover who Naughty John actually is, and it's this big shock. Especially, I was just like, wow, really? He's a ghost? But it was still great. And in the midst of it all, there's within this murder mystery and the diviners have to save the world. The diviners are people who have these abilities who can help save us from the apocalypse, which is a coming, according to all of these other foretellers in the story. And then you have Theta, who is also a diviner, we find out later in the book. Theta's not really her name either, it's a nickname, who she gets so fire and she gets so much heat inside of her that she can kill, which is intense, but I think it'll help prevent whatever this apocalypse is. She can use that power to fight. Her power seems to be more active than everybody else's. Memphis and his healing ability. Evie has the whole thing where she can touch objects, and then you have what other and then you have Isaiah, who is Memphis's brother, who he's a prophet and he can foretell things. There's another girl who we don't really get to know in this book, who has the ability to travel through dreams, which I do believe Henry can do as well. He can dream walk. Evie is kind of interesting out of all of them, because I think Evie may or may not have multiple abilities. There's this wacky moment where she's dreaming, and I think she's dream walking into Henry and the green-eyed girl's dream. They're together in it, all three of them. She's like, I can see you, you're there. So this is why I think Evie is important, because I think whereas all of them may have one ability, Evie may have several. She's sort of like Peter from Heroes, where she can kind of expunge things maybe in a way, or like Rogue from X-Men, where she can hold on to an ability. But I think she has multiple powers she has not yet channeled, which, yeah, I hope we may have some discussion on that, or be revealed later on in the books that she does or she doesn't. I just want to be able to know for sure, because I think that she is in the center of this mess. She's the leader of this group. The diviners are all kind of separate, and then they sort of begin to come together. Sam comes and works in the museum, and then you have Theta, who is friends with Mabel and Evie, and then you have Memphis, and Memphis and Theta actually have a sort of thing going on, and I love them, because she calls him the poet, because Memphis is he's a writer, and Theta, he calls her the Creole princess, because she has this French look to her, and they're beautiful, and it's amazing. And of course, it's 1920s New York. Theta is a white girl, and Memphis is not, and there's opposition on both ends. He goes to a party at his friend's house, and everyone's like, what did you bring here? This is trouble. But the biggest shock that actually came to me, and one that I wasn't entirely sure that I was digging, I hope it comes together in the end, was Jericho and him being like a Frankenstein type of Eddie, one of the monsters, like, type of creation. He's made of brass. I was kind of curious about that. I wasn't sure how I felt about it. I feel like it was just added in. I would have much rather Jericho be a diviner. There's also other things happening. There's Project Buffalo, which Will is a part of, and when Will's lover, who I may or may not think is Sam Lloyd's mother. That has yet to be revealed, but we'll see. Sam is looking for his mom. His mom was part of Project Buffalo. She had left him and his father, and he's sort of been on his own, because his dad's kind of not the world's greatest, and he's not really crazy about him either. So, I mean, I overall, I think I really enjoyed the book, but there was parts of it where I felt like, okay, can we get on with it? It's massive. It's like 400 something pages long, but there's a lot of great things. I kind of liked the fact that I read Poison Princess before I read this book, because Poison Princess really had a lot of tarot going on, and I mentioned last week how I thought that one of the characters in Poison Princess might be the Hangman, and lo and behold, in the Diviners there was a direct comment about the Hangman, which I was like, oh yeah, yes, I researched this already. So it was great. One of the best things I think about this book was that it's written for teens, but there's a lot of adult concepts to it. The theme and the triangle between Evie, Jericho, and Sam is very grown up. You could tell that Evie has a soft spot for Sam, but you can also see that she's in love, or she's not really in love, but she also likes Jericho to a degree, and Jericho really loves her. And it's so funny because she doesn't even see how much he loves her until later on. And Jericho's a really sweet guy, but there's something about Sam that I think, because Sam is a diviner, I'm not sure that Evie would be able to stay away, because when Theta and Memphis kissed, ghosts started just running amok. And I'm not sure if it was directly correlated with them kissing, but something about, I think it was the diviners coming together that was causing the presences of these spirits to kind of come out. And they're not necessarily all bad spirits. Some of them are good spirits. But yeah, overall, it was great. The couple questions that I do have is with Evie. Is she a multiple diviner? How are they all just going to come together and form this group? And of course, I'm sure that by the next book we'll meet other diviners. There's a mysterious man that Mabel meets. Mabel is not a diviner yet. Like, we don't really know. Maybe she's hiding something. But any new character to me is kind of, especially someone comes all the way at the end, is always someone you have to think twice about. Is he the new villain? Who is he? Because they get rid of Naughty John. Naughty John is gone. But he's kind of like the villain of the book. And then I think the overarching villain is this impending apocalypse, and I wonder what's going to happen in the second book. Who's going to be who's going to be our next big bad? Sam's mother, who is she? Was she Will's lover? You know, what is she about? What is Project Buffalo? Because these are the things that are left unanswered. Also, Evie comes out, she like Tony Starks herself in front of everybody and tells them that she can read objects. She basically makes herself known, which is a good thing and a bad thing. And the bad thing is that everybody now knows that she has this ability, and she's famous for it. So people who are looking to kill the diviners, or to destroy them so they can get their way when it comes to this impending doom, are going to know where to find Evie. Second thought, the other diviners who may be hiding or scared know where to find Evie too, so they can all kind of come together and save each other. And I hope that happens in the next book, because whereas Memphis, Theta, Henry, Evie, and Sam all collided in one way or another, they never really forged this group. But I hope in the next book that it does. So that's just, those are just some of my thoughts and theories on this. It's a crazy book. It's very long, but I'm curious to see what you guys think. Hit up the comments on our site once this goes up. Again, if you want to read my review, it's right below it. Our next book is going to be Beautiful Creatures. The first book, beautiful in the series. Next week. I already started it. Hopefully I'll have it up shortly. So, see you guys then.